Good evening. I'm Gregory Morgan, and welcome to Love Talk. If you're joining my show for the very first time, thank you and welcome. I'm here to talk about love and what works in relationships. We're not going to focus on a particular type of relationship. Obviously, there's the relationships with your parents, your relationships with your children, relationships with your friends and peers and coworkers, and then there's the love relationships that we have that are in the category of eros, erotic love relationships, in which we have a sexual relationship with another human being. Those are the relationships in which people have the most problems, and so we're going to focus on what is it that are some of the issues that are inherent in that type of a relationship, so that you can come to a more complete understanding of what's going on in your relationship, what's going on in the relationships with the people around you that you may see struggling or even suffering in their personal and private relationships. Of course, those are the relationships that nobody wants to talk about. And yet they're dying inside. They're dying to talk about it. They're dying to share things with other human beings, because it is one of our most profound and intimate drives of a human being, is to be known and recognized and considered valuable by other human beings. It is a fundamental drive that we all have, and unless you feel valued as a human being, unless you feel that you have something to contribute that actually makes a difference, that moves, that touches, that inspires other human beings, your life will feel empty. And to that extent, to the extent that your life feels empty, that you feel hollow inside, like there's no substance or meaning or use for you, then to that same extent, you will be driven by this desire to feel valued, to feel acknowledged, to feel loved. You will be driven to find your fulfillment in other human beings. You'll be subconsciously and automatically, like a drive, like a compulsion, like an animal need, you will look to other human beings to fulfill what you have not been able to fulfill for yourself. In other words, your emptiness, your inner emptiness, your inner lack of love and lack of self-value will drive you in your behaviors to constantly seek out approval from other people, to seek out approval, to seek out being valued, being loved, and so you will wander the earth with this unanswerable question, something like, do you love me now? How about now? Will you love me now? If I do this, will you love me? How about if I do this, then do you love me? And no matter how much you are loved, no matter how much you're acknowledged and valued by other human beings, and you will be, no matter how much value you bring to the world, if your unanswerable question is, do you love me now? No amount of love, no amount of acknowledgement will ever fill the emptiness inside, because only you can fulfill that emptiness. So we find ourselves being raised by our parents who they themselves felt empty inside very often. I'm not saying your parents did, but more than likely they were raised by people who perhaps felt empty inside. So through the generations, this sort of emptiness that is dependent upon other people to fulfill our emptiness gets passed down as a system of relating to each other, and it has, over time, over generations and generations and generations, a model of relationship has come to be known as love, and they call that love. The words, I need you to feel complete, are a part of your vocabulary. If I need you or I need your love is a part of your general makeup. It's part of who you are. In other words, you find yourself saying these words, then I propose that there is an emptiness inside that only you can fulfill. And when you fill that emptiness, you will have love to give. And while you would prefer to be loved by others. It will be a preference and not a need. It will be a preference. I mean, certainly somebody who is self-fulfilled prefers to be loved, prefers to share their life with others. And because they are making a contribution to the world, because they love themselves and they are self-fulfilled, they will be loved by others in a very unique and wonderful way that doesn't include neediness, that doesn't include this hungry longing to be fulfilled by another human being. It'll simply be, this is who I am, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer and to contribute. I'm happy, I'm well, thank you very much, and I love you. And that's what will a person who is self-fulfilled brings to the world, brings to their relationship, brings to others. And so, of course, it's easy to love a person like that because they're not needing you. And so very often we fall into an addictive system of loving, a codependent and addictive system of loving. I want to distinguish what I mean when I use the word addictive or addict. Addictive is any system because there's no addict without an addictive system. Addicts can only exist inside of a system of addiction, inside of and in relationship to other addicts. So an addiction is anything, any process over which you are powerless. Anything that's going on, a mental process, an emotional process, a physical process, even if it's something like overeating or gambling, that's a process, you see. You know, there's a time when you're not gambling, and then there's a time when you think about gambling, and then there's a time when you go do whatever it is you need to go do, whether it's driving your car or buy something or sit down at a certain place and start doing that activity. There is a process that one goes through just to fulfill that activity. If you're a sex addict, then there's certain steps that you take to make sure that that addiction gets, that you get your hit, that you get your, whatever it is that stimulates you so that you can have that moment where there is a momentary absence of the pain and longing. And you call that, if it's love addiction, if it's sex addiction, you call that happiness, you call that love, you call that well-being. And of course, for those of us who have ever experienced that type of thing, it is always temporary. And when I say those of us, I want to be very, very clear. I've never met a human being that wasn't addicted to something. You are addicted to something. So whether it's, and by addiction, I'm going to just keep distinguishing it so that you can begin to see it for yourself. Any process over which you're powerless, or any substance over which you are powerless, whether it's alcohol, tobacco, coffee. You know, I'm a coffee addict, right? If I don't have coffee, I'm not well. Now, am I powerless? No, not really, not necessarily. However, I don't feel very well if I don't have my coffee, you see. And so that's an addiction. It becomes progressively more compulsive and obsessive. In other words, you don't even think about it. You just know that today you're going to go do that thing, whatever that is your process or substance. You wouldn't think of not having it. So it's compulsive and it's somewhat obsessive. Like I remember when I used to smoke, and I knew where every place was that you could get cigarettes. I always knew where I could get a cigarette. Once I let go of that addiction, and I don't have that anymore, thank God, I don't even notice it. Now it's kind of unusual to be at a place where there's a lot of people smoking, for example. I just tend to avoid those kind of places. The other thing about addiction is that it takes over and it causes us to do things and to think things. It'll take over your thinking and your actions and behavior so that you will think and do things that are inconsistent with your own values. So you may say, well, I really value being healthy and trim and looking good in my clothes. However, you will sneak over to the icebox in the middle of the night and eat that chocolate cake or eat extra servings of things. So it would be inconsistent with what you say you value. So you'll have your value over here and then this behavior over here, and they don't match. They'll never match up. The other thing is that that's essential about addictions is that it masks your true feelings. It hides your true feelings. If it doesn't do that, if it doesn't have you have a moment of temporary relief from your emptiness and your pain and suffering that is your own private world, if it doesn't have that, you wouldn't do it. If it doesn't give you that true feeling, that momentary relief from your true feelings, and if it doesn't give you, which is basically a confused perception. In other words, you're still feeling that, you just don't feel it for a moment, or you feel something different. So addictions will always give you a confused perspective of the world. So some of the characteristics, addictive thinking, when we talk about confused perceptions, is basically dishonesty. You're dishonest with yourself and others. Self-centeredness, in other words, all you care about is getting your hit. A dependency, in other words, you're dependent not only on that thing that you're addicted to, but other people. You become dependent. There's a constant seeking because you feel out of control with your life. You know that, in fact, you're dishonest, self-centered, and dependent, so you try to control other people and other things. So there's a sense of always trying to control something. Now, I notice that some people are beginning to call on the line, so I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hello, this is Gregory. You're live on the air.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Fine, thank you.
How can I help you?
2 weeks ago, you said that I have an addictive personality because when I met
I said that to you?
With someone, a guy, I attached to him, causing our addiction or everything else.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to know about the root, the sources of addiction. Why I have an addictive personality. What do you think?
Well, you were raised by people who are themselves addicts, so you've learned a model of addiction as
My father was exactly like me.
Yeah, and so you learned about relationships from your opposite sex parent. He was a codependent parent and you became a codependent child. And now you go around trying to replace that feeling. And so instead of fathering you to be a happy, independent, self-loving human being who didn't need anyone and yet had the capacity to love everyone. That would be my ideal, if you will. A person would want to give to their daughter. And so instead of doing that, he and your mom taught you to be dependent on other people as if they were the source of your happiness and fulfillment. So my guess is that you probably feel somewhat empty inside if there's no one around.
I love myself because I never let anyone to talk to me in a bad way or something like that.
All right.
I become selfish. Do you think that I don't love myself?
That certainly sounds like you have enough self-respect to not let people talk to you in a bad way, so that's good. But do you enjoy spending time alone, or there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Do you enjoy your time alone when you're with yourself? Like if nobody comes around, are you just as happy?
Sometimes, yes, I prefer to be alone and get relaxed and watching TV or sleeping or something like that. And sometimes, most of the time, I want to be with the other people. But when I want to do my job or when I want to do something for myself and it is necessary, even if I'm lonely, go and do that.
Okay, good. So it sounds like you have a pretty healthy relationship with yourself to a certain extent, but when it comes to men or somebody of the opposite sex, it sounds like you latch on to them and get very dependent upon them. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that what you told me? Tell me some more about that. What are some of the feelings and thoughts that go on about that?
About the guys that I meet?
Yeah, like let's say you just met a guy, he likes you, you like him. What happens then?
At the first time, I don't have a lot of attentions to them, I'm very proud and I don't talk to them so much, and they are looking after me, getting my cell phone number from everywhere. They want to talk to me and go out with me and something like that and say compliments. And after I become so kind with them, because that I have an addictive personality, as you said.
Well, that may or may not be true.
In the opposite way.
Yeah, it starts going the other way, right?
Yes.
I got it. So after you've been nice with him, maybe been intimate or close with him, all of a sudden you latch onto him. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What happens, there's a certain point at which it goes from he's pursuing you to you start pursuing him. What happens? What's the tipping point? How do you know when it's time to start chasing him?
You know, when you see you like someone, person is coming for you, compliments, you have some desires to that person. So you say to yourself, okay, why not? It's better I should to talk to him, to be with him more than this, and pay attention to him.
Yeah. And so, but the moment you do that, is that when it starts being attached, like right away, immediately, or is there something else that takes place first?
Immediately.
Immediately. The moment you decide that you're going to start being nice to somebody, you immediately get attached to them?
Yes.
Okay. What do you suppose triggers that?
I don't know, you know. Maybe because of loneliness, maybe because of my life projects, you know. You know, to be honest, I just the guy that I like their and their body, okay? The other guys that I don't like them, I even don't spend my time for talking to them. And the rest are in my type. Then I think, I don't know, maybe it's about sexual desires that encourage me to go and talk to them, to be with them, to go out and hang out with them, attach to them. Because most of them, you know, the guys that I choose are, most of them, handsome, body,
They're handsome and have a nice body, yeah.
With high standards, but high standards that you can see, not high standards in their mind.
I got it. So as long as they look right and they're handsome and they have a good body, then you start to get addicted to them?
And they're educated, they have enough good money, you know.
Okay, they've got money, then
After that, touch them and think ruins.
And that ruins it.
Yes, because men, you said that adrenaline is the first hormone in the man.
Well, men and women have both men and women have, I would say, equal amounts of adrenaline. Men maybe have more because they're physically larger, but we all have our adrenaline, which is our emergency response, yes? So when we feel anxiety of any kind, right, somebody could say something to you that makes you feel anxious, yes?
Yes.
Right? Somebody could say something, well, somebody could say something maybe intimate to you, the kind of things that maybe would make you blush, or something that was very intimate. So along with that intimate feeling, you would have a bit of anxiety, and so with that, you would get an adrenaline rush. And listen, everybody gets adrenaline rushes all the time. That's why we have amusement parks with crazy rides that get us scared, right? That's why people like scary movies. It's why people like to drive their car fast, because we're addicted to our adrenaline. We love our adrenaline. Our adrenaline makes our blood pump faster and makes our minds get more focused. You know, people get addicted to violence. A lot of people who are in addictive relationships end up in violent relationships because the arguing and the shouting and all that gives them the adrenaline rush that they're addicted to, you see. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, but it's something to notice, right? In other words, to the extent that you're able to distinguish things in your life, you will have more personal power. So if you get an adrenaline rush and you go, oh, I get attached too easily and I have an addictive personality, I don't think that that's going to give you a lot of power. Even though I said that to you, it's so that you could distinguish addiction from love. You see? Yeah, a lot of people get addicted to the adrenaline rush that somebody, you know, the guy's handsome, he's masculine, he's got money, he's got a great body, so it's it's
like this kind of guy.
Right. It's normal to feel attraction to that. I'm with you on that. Right? That's normal to feel a certain anxiousness or anxiety about that if you're attracted to him in that way. Now, if that anxiety drives you to do things that are inconsistent with your own values, okay, right? It drives you to do things that are inconsistent with what you value as being a woman, right? And value in relationships so that your own status in your own mind becomes less, so that you begin to be dishonest with yourself, so that you begin to feel feelings of dependency and a need for control, like you're out of control, then that's not love, that's addiction. You see? Now, everybody feels those feelings. People who love and respect themselves know the difference and what gives you personal power in your own life. You know those people that when they say they're going to do something, it always happens the way they say they're going to make it happen? People that are able to always be in good shape financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's what I mean by personal power. I don't mean power over others. I'm meaning really power over yourself. People who have personal power have a couple of things that we're all supposed to have, and that is self-restraint. In other words, we're able to see, oh, that kind of goes past my own boundaries of my own values. I'm just not going to do that. So there's a self-control, self-restraint, and the ability to have what we would call gratification delay. In other words, if you put a plate full of cookies in front of a kid at a table and say, don't touch the cookies and leave the room, a child may not have gratification delay. You understand? They may not have the self-restraint. Probably if you came back, some of the cookies will be gone, right?
Yes.
Now, if you tell an adult, don't eat the cookies, they're for later, we're going to have them later, and you leave the room, you come back, the cookies will probably still be there because they've learned a certain amount of self-control and self-restraint. Now, when you get to be an adult, a woman with the ability to procreate and make children, with the ability to have wealthy, good-looking men cater to you and want to take care of you and marry you or have children with you, when you become that kind of a human being, you also inherit a certain amount of responsibility. And that responsibility comes with self-restraint, self-denial, and the ability to delay gratification. That's what separates the kids from the adults, and it's also what separates the addicts from a powerful person. To be powerful doesn't mean you don't have addictions. Don't get me wrong.
You said about self-esteem, and exactly. You know, I was, before I used to read a lot of books about this, that if someone loves herself or himself, the other people can love her, okay?
Yes.
So I did it. For example, I met a guy, and he said, after 3 or 4 months, I remember, and he said that, okay, I want to marry you, and I said, hey, it's too soon. Do you think so? He said, no, I like you. I want to marry you. I said, okay, if you want to marry me, do this for me. And it was a very, very, very simple thing. He said, no, I don't have time and money for that, doing that. Okay, you have money and you have time. Okay, if you don't do that, I won't marry you. And the relationship broke up. And after that, another guy that I met, I wanted to respect myself, and I asked him, okay, I don't want to stay in a distance relationship. Okay, we saw each other, we used to be together, and now you are in your country, I'm in my country. Okay, you cannot come here. Okay, I will go there, but I cannot continue in this way. And when I start to show them that I want respect, I have self-esteem, I want respect, I want to respect myself, so put your time, money, and energy and love on me. Spend your money, your time, and energy
I got
on
it.
me.
Okay.
I don't know why.
They ran away.
You
Okay.
know,
Well, let me
divorce,
interrupt you for a
and
moment. Let me interrupt you for a moment. Unfortunately, the ladies' magazines like Cosmopolitan, Allure, you name it, there's stacks of them. What they are promoting, and this has been going on for the last 45 to 50 years, so I would say the last 45 years. If you were born in the last 40 years, you have grown up with this idea or ideal of what women are supposed to be like, okay? In those magazines, the idea or ideal that they are promoting is that you should attract men through your sexuality and keep them through your sexuality. I read the story covers on the magazines in the supermarket, right? And it's like 5 ways to have him crawling back for more sex, you know? Sexual secrets that will have him, you know, at your feet and so forth. So the whole idea, especially when it's like common everyday, I mean, 15 magazines and newspapers and movies in which that is the ideal, of course you would absorb the idea, you personally I'm talking to, you would have absorbed the idea that the way to get a man to love you or to be attracted to you is through sexuality, by being very sexy and through sexually enticing him to want to marry you or stay with you. I got news for you ladies. Sex will definitely get a man's attention for a while, only for a while. It's always temporary. It's always temporary. Sexual attraction does not equal love in any way whatsoever. Sexual attraction, especially for men. You see, for women, sex happens up inside you and close to your heart. So, of course, you feel feelings that are like love feelings. If you have those feelings, you would call those love. The feelings are feelings of emotion that are very powerful. You know, when a woman has a sexual relationship with a man, and it's a good sexual relationship, she feels those feelings that we could call love. That's sexual attraction, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. I hope you feel that. It's an important part of having a long-term committed relationship. There better be good sex, or else that's going to be missing. Good sex is a good thing, but it's only part of the formula for having a long-term committed relationship that actually lasts a lifetime. Because good sex will not make a man leave all of the other women in the whole world that he could be having good sex with. So you have to ask yourself, why would this guy want to leave all of the other women in the whole world and give all of his time, money, and attention to me for the rest of our lives, plus support me and our children, and share half of all of his wealth with me? Why would a man want to do that when he could go have inexpensive sex with a lot of different women? It's, you know, having a wife is a very expensive thing.
Yes.
It's like the most expensive investment that a man can make, having a wife and children. And so, and plus, he knows how to seduce women because he's good looking, so women probably seduce him instead, right? If a guy's good looking and he's got money, he can have sex all he wants for the rest of his life, as long as he's good looking and has money, unless he's, you know, locked up because he's a criminal. But otherwise, you know, if he's out running free with good looks and sex and money, he's going to be able to have sex. So why should he marry a woman who's going to get older? She's going to have babies. She's going to be problematic sooner or later, and probably not want to have sex with you after a while. So why would he do that? You got to ask yourself that, because listen, women have been having smart, intelligent, wealthy, good-looking men forsake all other women and be devoted to them and only them for their entire lives, and women have been doing that for centuries. However, it's a talent that has not been passed down from generation to generation, and your generation and the one before you, your mother's generation, was taught that causing a man to be addicted to you is the way to keep him. And as you know, well, maybe you don't know this, an addictive man, a man who is capable of becoming addicted, is not a man who is capable of making a lifelong commitment. Think about that.
And
His addiction is stronger than his commitment.
Yes, but how should women go to the part of subconscious mind of men to get married to them?
Well, listen, this is the age-old question. Why do men marry? You know, why do men marry? Men marry, I'll tell you in a very short sentence, men marry because they got a better deal with you than they could get out there with all those other women. They got a better deal. Men are always looking for the best deal.
Okay, how can how can we show? How can we be? You know, that they feel that if they marry us. They
Well,
will be the winners.
This is not something that you will learn in a short conversation on the phone. You won't learn it from reading a book, and you won't learn it from listening to a CD. However, we do have books and CDs and seminars and workshops in which you can put these things into practice in your life and become that kind of woman. It's not something, we do an intensive 3-day workshop with women. My wife does. And there's two. There's the women-only workshop, and then there's the advanced women-only workshop. And I can tell you that the type of work that gets done in there, it is really a workshop. It's not just a seminar where you sit down and take notes and try to learn through your brain what's going on. It is a shop in which you work, and in that environment, I would say that what would normally take most people a lifetime of learning takes place in a few days. Why? Because we've done this before. Why? Because we've designed it specifically to produce certain psychological, emotional, and mental effects, and those effects have a physical manifestation. I've watched literally hundreds and hundreds of women go into these workshops. They were like hopeless in my mind, come out of them and then go into the next workshop, and I see some of them a few months later or a year later, and I do not know them. I can't recognize them. They physically look different. They're carrying themselves differently. They are a different person now. They have become somebody who is self-loving, self-respecting, charismatic, beautiful, and well-dressed, and put together in a way that you know that this is somebody who has personal power and boundaries. It's somebody to be dealt with. It's not somebody that you could push around or take advantage of. They're powerful, and yet they're feminine. I say that not just to pitch our workshops, but because we saw the need for this, and we said, how could we apply everything that we know to answer that need, to actually not just make it better, but to change it permanently so that the person could never go back to being the way they used to be. They just wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. You mean
Do you drive a car? Do you drive a car?
Wait,
do you drive a car?
Drive a car?
Yeah, do you know how to drive a car?
Yes, I have
Okay.
license.
Now, do you know how the car works, or could you build a car? The answer is going to be no, right?
No.
Right? But you know how to drive a car. Now, there was a time when you did not know how to drive a car, right?
Yes.
If we put you in a car, you would absolutely wreck it right away. No matter how good a car we gave you, we could give you the best, most expensive car in the world, you'd still wreck it right away because you didn't know how to drive a car. So if we took you and took you to driver's school and taught you how to race a car and how to drive a car and everything about cars, and then turned you loose, you could drive any car after that, right?
Right.
It wouldn't matter what kind of car it is, you could drive it. So now, let me ask you this. Could you ever forget how to drive a car?
No.
Could you ever go back to that way you used to be of not being a car driver? No, the answer is no. So the same thing happens in our workshops. Women do not know how to manage relationships, period. They just don't know. You could give them the best man in the world who's looking for a wife, just like you, and you would mess it up. Find some way to have the guy leave. For some reason, it'd be a different reason every time, and it'd be a mystery to you, I'm saying to you and to most women. Then coming out of these workshops, I see women who not only have rejoined marriages that were broken apart, and they're happy, and they don't stop sending us thank yous. And we see photos of them and their kids and their marriages coming to very happy people. 18% of the women who have taken our workshops over the past 4 years, 18%, that's like if 100 people took the workshop, 18 of them get married after being in the workshop within a year or two. Something's happening over there, and they can't go back to being the way they used to be, just like you couldn't go back to being a non-driver of cars.
Yes, exactly.
They can't go back to being the kind of woman who doesn't know how to manage herself in a relationship.
Just in 3 days?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I will
Yes,
try to.
I'm telling you, you can't learn it on a phone call. You can't learn it in a book. You can't learn it on by taking classes at a psychology school. It just won't. It doesn't work that way.
Yes, I know. Thank you very much. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Yeah. Hello, this is Gregory.
Hello.
Hi, you're live on the air. Thank you for holding.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been in a relationship with someone for about 4 years now, and the relationship is very serious, headed towards marriage. And recently, I've learned that I think he fits the description that you're describing about having an addictive personality. In that I've learned that we have a very loving relationship. We have a lot of wonderful things that I'm very grateful for, and I know that he is as well in our relationship. However, recently learned that he has this habit, and I think he has with other women that he's dated before myself, of flirting with other women, not face-to-face and in front of others, but in a hidden manner online and not in chat rooms, but like one-on-one with women that he's met before or people that he knows. It's really shaken my
shaken your trust and faith in him.
Completely, yeah.
And I'm sure that in turn has affected your level of respect for him, and because you have a value called loyalty. You have a value called I'm giving you all of my love and attention. I'm being loyal and monogamous with you. And even though he may not have a sexual exchange with them, flirting is an exchange of sexual energy, even if it's not a physically manifested.
Correct.
So he's exchanging sexual energy on a mental and emotional and psychological level, and so you have every right to feel like you're being cheated on, because you are.
Exactly.
If you have an agreement to be monogamous with him, and you're keeping that agreement, you have every right to expect him to have the same agreement with you. Have you ever both verbally expressed this agreement? Have you ever made an agreement called I will not go out with, have sex with, flirt with, date other men and other women? Have you ever, I'm going to give all my love and sexuality and attention to you?
Most recently, going through this, yeah, I mean, that conversation has definitely come up, and it's been said, and I've stated that is my expectation of my partner.
Okay.
And he has indicated to me a great deal of remorse and feeling guilty and feeling disgusted and feeling awful about himself because of the way that it makes me feel, knowing that he's partaking in this type of interaction, and that he wants nothing more but to not turn to other women for any type of fulfillment, but rather for everything to be within our relationship. In addition to this individual, he's always had a great deal of difficulty with self-expression. What he has told me is that, I never want to disagree with you. I never want to say anything that will ever make you feel bad. And therefore, he's the most even-keeled personality you would ever meet. And not just with me, but with his friends, with his family, and he withholds a lot.
And then he gets angry.
He's repressed. And that in combination, and that's what is one of the scariest parts of our relationship, is that at times when he has, I've learned that he has been flirting with these other women. If I ask why, and if he thinks about it and he expresses, for whatever reason, we were really busy, something was happening, I didn't really feel like we were connecting, and I felt fulfilled through this interaction.
So just when you ask why, he says what?
It's disturbing, yeah, because there was never any sign on his part.
Wait. Did you hear my question? When you ask why, he says X. What does he say?
Why he says what he says to the women that he...
No. When you ask him, why do you go flirt with other women outside of our relationship, what does he say? That's my question.
He doesn't know. He says he knows in the moment that it is wrong, but there is just something, and he somehow becomes uninhibited, and the interaction happens, and then afterwards he feels guilty and he feels awful about it.
Okay.
And but in the moment, it gives him a positive feeling. That's why I feel like what he's saying is consistent with what you were speaking of in terms of addiction and temporary fulfillment.
I know you started the conversation by saying, I've been in a relationship for 4 years and it's heading towards marriage. When something's heading towards marriage, there's not a 4-year engagement is not an engagement. It's dating, okay? It's just dating. It may be monogamous dating, but in your case, it's not even that. But how you know you're engaged is you have a ring on your finger that represents a large investment.
To be clear, the engagement part has also been a part of our life. Like we are currently technically engaged.
Well, wait, by technically engaged, does it fit this description? You're wearing a ring?
I have been until this, finding out all of this information, and now I'm in this position of I'm
okay, but wait,
who
hold on.
I'm possibly marrying, so...
Hold on.
You currently have a ring.
You have a ring. Do you have a date?
Yes.
You have a marriage date?
Yes.
Great. Have you sent out invitations?
Not invitations, not yet.
No. So how you know you're engaged to be married is that you are engaging in a very specific type of conversation. It's a very specific conversation. It's not just any old conversation. I highly recommend that you get a CD that I have called 12 Stages of Romantic Relationship, okay? There's about 7 stages before marriage that relationships go through, okay? And one of them is called engaging, and I use the word ing. I put the ing because it implies a process. Engaging, not engaged, like a thing or a noun, but engaging like a verb, okay? And there's a very specific conversation to be had during the process of engaging, and that has a time limit on it. If it doesn't have a time limit on it, it's not engaging. All right, engaging has a very specific set of circumstances in which you are engaging in a conversation that involves money, real estate, religion, families, sex, free time, children, education, a number of things that make up the fabric of your life, and you're negotiating those. Mm-hmm. Okay. During that time. And even though you have negotiated those, there are still other negotiations that take place after you've agreed, okay, well, we've come together about this, we agree on the family, we agree on this, that, or the other. There's a negotiating stage that really gets down to 5 years out, 10 years out, 50 years out. What do you see happening in our lives, and what if this comes up, or what if that comes up? And so I coach people on really, do you want to get married and then maybe get divorced after you've had some kids? Would you marry somebody under those circumstances, or do you want to get married with somebody that you know, if I have children with this man, for the rest of my life I can count on him to be there no matter what? Because that's what you say in a marriage vow, through sickness and health until, forever. Right?
And that's what I 100% believe, and that's why I'm calling to you today, because
he's not ready for that.
Those engaging conversations.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, he is not qualified to have that conversation. According to what you've just told me, he's not even qualified to have that conversation. And if you heard me talk to my previous caller, an addictive man is not a committable man. Mm-hmm. It takes commitment to be a married man. I think it takes even more commitment to be married as a man than it does as a woman. That's my take on it from what I've seen in my own experience, that a woman, once she bonds with a man, it's kind of like unquestioning for a moment. In fact, once she's happy and in love, sometimes her own logic, it doesn't work so well. And even though she can see this really doesn't work, this is not really what I want, this is not going to work out, or it probably won't work out. Women, as long as there's a little hope that it might work out, they will stay committed.
And that's where I am right now, is that I want to stay committed, but I don't want to be foolish about my future and ignore these very, red flags that are appearing right now, where we are right now in our relationship before that step. Mm-hmm. And so I guess, it sounds like as though you're saying, I guess what I'm wondering is there, I've been with this man for quite a few years now, and...
How old are you?
Is there... I'm going to be 30 soon.
Yeah, so you don't have any more years to invest in something that maybe might work out.
Right. And I'm wondering, with people who do have these types of addictive, personalities or what addictions, I mean, is there, the expression of the remorse and the fact that he's expressing himself differently than he has in the past as we're going through this difficult period, are those things that I should be,
well,
holding
personally,
on to?
No, you shouldn't hold on to those at all. They have virtually no value. Remorse and guilt, remorse, while it may be real, guilt in and of itself is a signal from the subconscious mind. It's or even the conscious mind. Really, it's the subconscious mind telling the conscious mind you have done something that violates your own values. Period. That's all guilt is. You are currently doing, or you have done something that violates your own values. What there is to do with that signal called guilt, I violated my own values. There's only one thing to do about that. Stop doing it and never do it again, and clean up the mess that you made from doing this thing that's violated your values and hurt other people. Go do whatever it takes to make amends and to make it right. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you've caused more damage than you can fix. The best thing you can do about that is say, I've given my 100% best to try to make this right, and I'm now good with myself. But to go around feeling guilty about it is just plain stupid. Any guilt beyond that, once you've stopped doing what it was that violates your principles, and you've done everything you can to clean up that mess, any guilt beyond that is an indulgence, okay? It's an indulgence and a sort of self-pity, and it is giving you permission to do it again. And I'm going to tell you how that works. I did this bad thing. I felt so bad about it, therefore I'm a good person, right? Even though I did the bad thing, my bad feeling makes it okay because I'm a good person. Can you see how that sort of gives you permission to do that again at some time in the future? Because you'll feel bad about it, and that's how you buy your way out of what it was that you did. The only way to handle something that you've done that is in violation of your principles is to stop doing it, make amends, and make promises. Look, you can count on me. I did this thing that's not all right with me. It's not who I want to be, and I'm telling you now, I will never do that again. You can count on me and hold me accountable about it. That's never going to happen again. I promise. And then, he's got to be able to look you in the eye and say that, and you, over in your world, if you're going to be responsible as a woman in your relationship, you've got to look in his eye and in your own heart and see if that's true for you. If he says, look, I'm never, ever going to do this again, you can count on me, I promise, then great. I want you to delete every single one of those women's from your Facebook, from your phone book. In fact, I want to sit right here while you call them and tell them, look, I'm in a relationship and I've been cheating on my girlfriend with you, and I'm never going to do that again. Please never call me, never text me, never email me. Don't poke me on Facebook or any of that stupid stuff. Please never contact me again. If you respect me, then respect my relationship with my fiancé, who's going to be my wife and the mother of my children, and please never contact me. That would be a man who I would respect. That would be a man that I would say, yeah, you could count on that guy like that.
But is that an initiative that he needs to take on his own, or is that something that I need to request? And if he follows through with that request, he's still someone that you could then count on?
Well, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it. I think that in a relationship, women should manage the relationship. Hear me rightly. Do not manage a man. Never manage a man. Manage the relationship. If you were managing the relationship, you're the manager, right? If you're a restaurant manager or something like that, right? This is your enterprise, your relationship. I need you to step up and own it and say, okay, I'll take charge of the relationship. And in my relationship, here's what I need to feel comfortable. I need you to go do X, Y, and Z as a condition for being in the relationship. And until that is fulfilled, I'm going to take the relationship away. This relationship is I'm going to take it away. So as a condition to be in this relationship, what you need to do is go clean all that mess up out there. And that means disconnecting with all those people you've been flirting with and letting them know that you're engaged to me. You've been violating my relationship by being in relationship with them, and that you're not going to do it anymore. I need you to go do that. And when you've done that, you come back and tell me you've done that, then I need you to look me in the eye and tell me that you're never going to do that again. And if I feel that that's true, then we can have this relationship again. You know, we'll look to see what I need to restore my faith in you and my respect for you. Because right now, I've lost some respect. And you know as well as I do that when you don't respect a man, you don't love him. You can't. There's people, I hear people say things like, well, I love him, but I don't respect him. No, you don't. You can't love somebody you don't respect. If you don't respect them, you don't even bother calling that love.
Right.
It may be codependency, it may be needing, it may be longing for, it may be having gotten used to and really wanting it to work out, but it's not love.
Right. Well, so what I'm wondering is, as far as the addiction part, if, you know, again, he has expressed remorse and guilt, and if he comes to me and he, you know, he expresses exactly what you did, that I will never do this again, and, you know, if this is an addiction, to, like, how can you gauge whether that's that person really genuinely never wanting to do that again and really, really, you know, trying to make that promise, but if it's an addiction, isn't it in some way still going to creep in? You
know, if you were watching the beginning of the show, you've heard me say I've never met somebody that wasn't addicted to something, right?
Right.
And so having an addiction doesn't mean you're helpless. It means that you've given your power away to something other than yourself. You know, in the strictest of terms, we could say that his is a sex and love addiction, and we could go back and analyze him and figure out why he had that addiction and why he isn't having that whatever that need is fulfilled in your relationship, which is a hard question you got to ask yourself. You know, what is it that I'm not giving, that I'm not supplying, that he feels he needs to go someplace else to get? Maybe he needs to feel acknowledged more. Maybe he needs to feel like he's somebody's hero. Maybe he needs to feel like, you know, he's admired and respected. I don't know. Like I say, I don't want to start analyzing him, right? But these are the kind of questions that in an intimate relationship you would ask, and you would be willing to hear the answer and do what it takes to make it work. That's what intimacy is, where people reveal their weaknesses and their strengths, and they change themselves to try to be a better person, not just to change themselves to be loved by another person, but to be a better person. You know, I'm not going to change myself to be loved by somebody else, but if somebody points out a weakness in my character that's really causing harm in relationships, I'm going to work on it because I care, because I respect myself. I'm not going to say, well, that's your problem, right?
Well, one thing that during this time that he has come back and said is that he feels as though a lot of the things that he hasn't done, or, that are things that I've expressed or have been discussed as missing from the relationship that we need. During this time of reflection, he's indicated that he feels it's come from a feeling of discontent from inside self.
Yeah.
And that's, and I wonder if this element of flirting with other women as well is somehow giving him this, positive boost of emotion.
Yeah.
Temporarily, clearly, when he's not really feeling secure and good about himself as an individual. And
it's not your job to have him feel better about himself. It's not your job. However, it is something that comes from, see, men have to do good to feel good. If he's not doing something with his life that he feels good about, then he'll try to go get feeling good probably from a woman, right? Some men try to feel good from alcohol or gambling or porno or whatever, right? If he needs a woman to make him feel good about himself, then I'm going to assert that he's not up to something big and important that is worthy of his life. I always say that men need to be up to something that's bigger than their own life. That's why being a father and being a husband is a good thing for a man. That's why most of the wealth that is earned in this world is earned by married men. The richest people in the world are married men because they're up to something bigger than their own little private thing. Being married and having kids makes you a better man. Doesn't make everybody a better man, but it has the potential to, you see. It's an opportunity to expand beyond your own petty concerns and become better, whatever it is you're good at, and for a reason that's more important than your own happiness. When other people's happiness and well-being becomes more important than your own, you become a better person.
Well, sometimes I feel that he puts other people's happiness so much to the point at which he ignores his own.
Yeah, well, that may be true, but there's a difference between being somebody who's too weak to say no and being somebody who's so strong that they can say yes. Which is he?
I'm not sure I'm following you.
I said there's a difference between being somebody who is too weak to say no and somebody who is so strong that they can afford to say yes. Do you see the difference?
I think so.
It's a world apart. One says yes all the time because they can't help it. They're too weak to say no. The other one could say no if they want to, but they're strong enough to say yes because they can.
Yeah.
They can afford to. They have enough extra power and extra money, time, energy, and strength, personal value to be able to share it with others so they can afford to say yes. It's different than somebody that's too weak to say no. Manage the relationship, not the man, and set boundaries so that people can step up to your boundaries, so men can step up to your boundaries. Distinguish the difference between an addictive man and a who is non-committal, who can't commit. How I know he can't commit? You've been going with him 4 years and he hadn't married you yet. Okay, so I'll take your call off the air and we'll go ahead and I think it's about time for me to almost wrap up this show for today. This will be the end of the show. Thank you for watching Love Talk, and I'll see you back here again next week. And Nowruz Mubarak, and happy Passover as well to those of you who practice Passover. And please go to embracegrowth.com, find out about the women-only workshop, and I do a workshop for men called Honor, Integrity, and Mastery, the HIM workshop, and we have a number of them on our schedule. This is Love Talk, and I'll see you back next week. Thank you.
The Embrace Growth app is finally here. You start by signing in just as you would online, and from there, you'll see all of your account settings. Once in the app, you'll have access to events and all of Embrace Growth's original content. Registering for workshops and seminars is easier than ever, and tools for managing your profile and options are built right in. Schedule private sessions and connect with the global Embrace Growth community. Download it today on the App Store. A man of character, responsibility, and resourcefulness. Become that man and join us on the journey towards manhood, finding a better person within. Embrace Growth is offering the Honor, Integrity, and Mastery workshop in Toronto, Yerevan, and Los Angeles. Sign up today at embracegrowth.com and see the transformation in your life. Welcome to the Embrace Growth app. There's a new way to communicate and join in. Create your free account online and sign into the app. Manage your profile on the go and choose between English or Farsi. Register for events and schedule appointments more easily than ever. Stream audio, video, and download books all over Wi-Fi or cellular. Sign up for workshops and seminars right on your phone. And access your audio and video library in the palm of your hand. Take your favorite lessons from Dr. Azita, Sayan, and Mr. Gregory Morgan with you. Download it today on the App Store. Embrace Growth has a new home online where you can easily register for workshops and events, order from the online store, and be part of the worldwide community of Embrace Growth graduates. You'll be able to see Dr. Azita Sayan and Mr. Gregory Morgan in your favorite seminars. Visit us today at embracegrowth.com. A haven for the weary soul, a source of inspiration and community, redesigned to bring you meaningful experiences and unforgettable events. We are a worldwide community of vibrant individuals, displayed in the people who are a part of it, from many nations, backgrounds, and beliefs. Through powerful outreach programs, the struggles of everyday life are confronted and conquered, transforming those who participate into the best versions of themselves. One-on-one sessions are available to keep you headed in the right direction, coupled with the best resources to remind you how to live, whether at home or elsewhere. Programs designed for men, providing the building blocks of maturity, commitment, integrity, and leadership, paving the way for productive and fulfilling manhood. Beyond an understanding of masculine leadership is its application in daily life, and development into something truly unique. Exclusive training for women, encouraging growth and empowerment through an acceptance of their true identities, redefining interactions, and changing the viewpoint through which life is seen. Embracing the woman within and accessing facets of your personality hidden beneath the surface. Showing our youth the value of integrity and reliability by creating an indwelling desire to succeed with honor, basing the future on a solid foundation of ideals that will guide them through life, leading by example, and showing others how to clearly convey their thoughts in a compelling way, creating a culture of mature leaders who can help others achieve self-confidence and their goals. Real people and real lives are changed for the better. With every event, more are touched and come to an understanding of their place in this world and their community. Embrace Growth is run by a passionate team and led by the diligence and inspiration of Dr. Azita Sayan and Mr. Gregory Morgan, who consistently teach life lessons based on what works, rather than the passing fads of the times.
برنامه دنیای عشق با دکتر آزیتا سایان، برنامه‌ای که تمامی سوالهای شما را جواب می‌دهد. ازدواج، عشق، سکس، همجنسگرایی، فرزندان، والدین، خیانت. از یوتیوب لایو استریم، فیسبوک و اینستاگرام لایو. سه شنبه ها و پنج شنبه ها 10 شب به وقت ایران و 10:30 صبح به وقت لس آنجلس. تلفن تماس با استودیو 818 532 6655. در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان با دستیابی به اهمیت و ارزش واقعی خود، قدرت زنانگی و آرامش خود را بازیابید. محیطی مناسب و هیجان انگیز برای رشد و شکوفایی عشق، ازدواج و خانواده خلق کنید. زنی شاد باشید، قلب مردان را بشناسید و آنها را درک کنید. کارگاه آموزشی بانوان، اروپا، 20 تا 22 آپریل. برای ثبت نام با تخفیف ویژه پاییزی با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید.
Welcome to the all-new EmbraceGrowth.com. You'll have access to all the content you love at the click of a button. Videos of seminars, events, and the ability to sign up for workshops. Direct access to digital downloads right from your mobile devices. Stay in the know and see our latest graduate events. Watch your favorites anytime, anywhere. Visit us today at EmbraceGrowth.com.